favorite. The nightcap will be number 2 Ohio State and number 3 Clemson in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl. The Buckeyes are 0-3 all time against Clemson, including a 31-0 loss in the semis. The Buckeyes do, however, own the best FPI chance to win it all at 35%. LSU is second at 28%, despite its top seed and favorable matchup in the first semifinal. So let's get into a conversation here. I've got the two of you, for those of you who don't know, from the SEC Network, Laura and Marcus. You cover them all year long. Did the committee get it right? Did LSU deserve to be number 1?
They absolutely got it right, and I think this is maybe the first time that there's such a large collection of people that feel like this is the best ranking that we've seen from the committee in that final week. So absolutely, with the win over Georgia, and say what you want about what Georgia's offense looks like, they're a top 3 defense in the country. For LSU to win that game and the respect the committee had on them, they had to move them up to number 1.
Listen, you are obviously hopelessly biased, but the reality is it went back and forth with Ohio State throughout the entirety of this season. Ohio State was number 1 last week, and they didn't lose. But you still think they got it right?
Yeah, look, the committee couldn't rest on their laurels. When they flipped this, it was because of defense. Holistically, they said, look, this team is better on both sides of the ball. You flip back. LSU shut out Texas A&M, and then they a week later shut out Georgia. So if you were going to make that argument for Ohio State 3 weeks ago, you had to make that one for LSU this past week. And then we watched Ohio State go down 21-7 against Wisconsin, which I think played a big part when you couple those 3 teams and say, okay, guys, this is where we are this week. I think the committee got it right.
Pat McAfee, I want you to comment specifically on something that you saw. You were at the game in Georgia and Atlanta, and you saw Joe Burrow in person for the first time, and you came away with some very strong opinions.
He's going to make all the monies. I honestly believe the thing that impressed me most was before the game, before the warm-up, there's a little session where players are out there like in tight shirts and shorts throwing around. They had this close-up on his face. He was the most calm, cool, collected guy on the field. He doesn't seem to be rattled. In his first year as a big-time real starter for a program, he has done it all, been there, done that. Then with his feet, his arm, every play he makes points directly to the fact that he's going to be an incredible NFL quarterback. And you could say this about other college quarterbacks in the past, and it has been said. But with this guy, the story that Coach O told about his phone breaking, and instead of getting a new phone, he said, I don't need a phone right now. I'm focused on football. This guy's an Ohio guy, so he's got grit. He loves football. He's calm, cool, and collected, and he's an athlete that can make every throw. I think not only is he going to make a run here for the college football playoff, but in the future, we're going to be talking about a guy who's going to earn hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars playing quarterback.
Dan Orlovsky, you do games all year long. You've seen all of these teams. I think we all think they got the rankings right. That doesn't mean LSU's the best team. It means they earned being number 1. In your opinion, which is the best team?
Clemson. I'm taking Clemson to win the whole thing. I think that Clemson's got this defense that not enough people are talking about. They lost all those first rounders. Everything that was on that defensive line has gone to their back 7, 28-game win streak in a row. Their quarterback, listen, Joe Burrow's been amazing. He's great. Heisman Trophy winner. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence is playing just as good as Joe Burrow. He can make throws like into tight windows where Matthew Stafford was like this, where Matthew Stafford would start to make some throws. I'd be like, don't do that. And then I'd be like, oh, that's why you did that, because only you can make those throws. Trevor Lawrence can make throws that no one else in the college football playoff quarterback-wise can. Travis Etienne is the toughest back in the country to tackle, so I'm taking Clemson.
Here's the reality, though, Marcus. There were actually 3 number 1 seeds here. We're splitting hairs for the committee. In your mind, why are you not as sold on Clemson? Because you told us this earlier.
Look, first of all, who has Clemson played?
Let's
be honest. Like, we got to stop having this conversation like we know what Clemson is going to look like against Ohio State. They hadn't played anybody remotely close to what Ohio State is. And then when you look at LSU, you guys, I've said with you for a long time, look, they say when you take the quarterback, that's the best one, you got the best chance to win. I would argue anybody. I'm a firm believer in Trevor Lawrence. I had to see it last year. I think a lot of people remember the national championship, what he did. Joe Burrow's the best quarterback in college. It's not even close.
Well, what you're going to see is this year's number 1 pick and next year's number 1 pick in the college football playoff. Meanwhile, that guy wasn't the number 1 pick, but he's awfully good. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers struggling to beat Washington yesterday. They're tentating us. Let me run the hurry up through a few of the things that we've covered. George Kittle with the play of the game, maybe the play of the year in the win. Pat McAfee, your thoughts?
4th down, guy tries to rip his face off. The Iowa Hawkeye said, picked up another 20 plus 15 on top of that. Here you go, Robbie Gould. Let's get a win down in the Bayou in the Superdome.
That genuinely is the kind of play that I have to believe energizes everyone.
Oh, hell yeah.
That is the play of the year in the NFL season so far. Next up, Baltimore. Lamar Jackson threw 3, went over 1,000 yards rushing. Swagoo, Ravens, are they the best team in the sport?
Best team in the sport, and it's complete. But leave your ankles with me, cuz I'll take them to the store for you. And when you look at the other side of the ball, they are rushing the passer 6 sacks. Look at these picks that Ozzie left him with. Ozzie, wherever you are, thank you, sir, for bringing these guys into this organization.
Ravens can beat you any way you want to play them. A statement win over Buffalo
Meet me in
yesterday.
the streets.
And then Rex to New England, where the Patriots offense stalled again. We talked a lot about the officiating, but at the end of the day, what does this Patriots offense look like to you?
An awful offense.
Yeah.
Really. They got nothing, man. They got no offensive line. They can't run the ball, nothing. Please, I'd love to have played this team. And I'm not just saying it. I would have loved to have played this team.
All right, let's bring it out here. Let's just take a minute on this because we opened our show with this game and we talked a lot about the officiating, and I make no apologies for it because that was a huge part of the storyline. But the reality is the Patriots look unprecedentedly vulnerable because their offense just looks terrible. Between now and the second week in January, can they figure something out that works?
No, G, because it's a personnel issue. They can figure it out from a coaching standpoint. We're talking about the best they ever do it. But when you look at personnel, that is what is causing us to have this reaction to the Patriots. If you don't have at least one guy, we talked about this team. We talked about it all year. When they got AB, we was like, okay, that changes everything. They let Josh Gordon go. Josh Gordon made a lot of plays for Seattle last night against the Rams. When you look at the personnel, it's the issue. Tom Brady being able to lift this team to better than what their personnel was, he can't do it anymore. It's a part of the problem as well.
Listen, I'm a lifelong fan of the New York Jets. I root against the Patriots every time they play. And I wanted to throw something at the television watching Jacoby Myers drop passes yesterday.
Right.
I mean, you just can't win with that.
No, we know how that looks being a Jet.
Yes,
lifer.
correct.
We've had a couple of
That's
those
usually us,
ourselves.
not them.
Right, exactly. But I'm going to say this. When you look at New England, one thing they haven't done that I expect them to do is, look, they get no production out of tight end, so don't use a tight end. All right, let's put an offensive lineman in that place. That can probably help in protection. I know it'll help in protection, and it'll probably help in the run game. That's what I expect this team to do. Look, they have no weapons outside. They have no tight end. You've got to do something. The best that's ever done it as a coach right here might be having his best coaching of all time, of his entire career. Why? Because there is nobody out there.
Yeah, Swagoo said it at the top of the hour there at the beginning of I don't know how the hell you TV people talk, but it was, he said that any other coaching staff would be 1-11 right now.
Yeah,
and I
great
thoroughly agree with that because the defense and special teams right now has elevated them, and the offense just hasn't been able to pick up. You saw them early go with tempo. You saw trick plays. I think they're trying everything they possibly can to get that offense going, and Bill Belichick has been quoted as saying, real football starts after Thanksgiving. Well, now we're a couple weeks after Thanksgiving, and there's been no.
Christmas, Pat.
Yeah, it's almost Christmas.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, by the way, to everybody. Happy New Year. It's
Birthday's
coming.
next week, by the
Happy
way.
birthday to everybody.
Rick.
But it just, we're at a point now where that offense is nowhere near humming, and they had people in the building, and when you get rid of them, you go, oh, Belichick will figure it out. Belichick will figure it out. And we're at the point now where they haven't, and I'm going to have to turn on the Patriots someday, and I'm dreading that day because I've been a part of like 50-point losses, but those days seem to be long gone right now for this Patriots
And then, too, when
offense.
you look at the other side of the ball, we talk historic defense. That was the whole spiel. Well, when you're playing 80 plays a game because your offense can't get a first down, you're going to get exposed. I don't care who you are. The dudes on the other side getting paid as well.
I can't believe I'm saying this, but Demaryius Thomas would be the best wide receiver outside of on that team
No
right now.
question.
And they traded him to the Jets.
Josh Gordon would be too.
But they traded him to the Jets for a 7th-round pick.
Well, and he was cut and then traded. He was cut, brought back, then traded. You get rid of him, everybody's like, you know what? Bill Belichick, he's the greatest coach of all time. He'll figure it out. Also, GM. Josh Gordon, IR, back in a couple weeks for Seattle Seahawks. Now, last night he got hot. He hasn't done much. Yeah, they'll figure it out. They haven't figured it out. And obviously, Antonio Brown, with the terrible allegations, they had to get rid of him. But he's on an apology tour. They've had weapons. And right now, it's just like they look bad.
They don't even have anybody out there that scares you. Like as a defense, Rex, you know they're going into a game. Who you game planning against? All they saying is if we can get the Tom Brady and cover guys, we'll beat this team.
No, that's
Won't let them in
exactly
the end
right.
zone.
Final thought.
Final